Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Back to our discussion on the voting in Parliament yesterday to impeach Mkhwebane. A whopping 318 MPs voted in favour of the Section 194 inquiry's recommendation that she be removed as public protector, while just 43 MPs voted against the move. Now, EFF, UDM, PAC and the ATM are among parties that rejected the report. Her fate is now lying in the hands of President Cyril Ramaphosa. Richard Dyantyi, the chairperson of the inquiry, joins us now via Zoom to discuss what happened yesterday. Mr. Dyantyi, thank you very much for your time here on All Angles. Just firstly, yesterday during your address in Parliament, towards the end there, you said with any mistakes that we might have made, we will rectify in future. Have you identified any mistakes that you might have made as an inquiry?
The point there was made on the kind of lessons that we think should have been picked up, and there are many of those lessons. It's less about the mistakes, it's more about what could we have done better. And certainly the issue of the time is one of those. This process was meant to be 6 months. It went double that time. And we think that there are good lessons there. We can shorten this. Secondly, we don't think that another process must be as expensive from those that account to Parliament as this was. And there are quite a number of other things. So it means that we might have to look at the rules as to how we tighten certain things, whether it's about the time, the kind of resources that must be used, and really the things that we struggled with, including the kind of conduct that both the person who's subject to that inquiry and their legal teams must really demonstrate.
What was the bill at the end of the inquiry, Mr. Dyantyi? There's a lot of sums that are flying around, in terms of how much it cost in the end. And I'm just wondering if you can just let us into your confidence and tell us, for the sake of public interest and transparency, how much did it cost the taxpayer at the end?
I had that, but I think for the inquiry, we were very clear that Advocate Mkhwebane and her team were very excessive. At the end, would have asked for additional 4 million to add to a 26+ million that she already had spent. So really the amount that the inquiry would have spoken about, it's a figure of about 30 million plus. I had a figure of 100 plus. It has nothing to do with the inquiry. It might be, I think people are putting together in her 7-year period everything that was about litigation and everything else to get to that figure. That has nothing to do with the inquiry.
So, Mr. Dyantyi, as chairperson, hearing all the political parties who were clearly throwing jabs at yourself and the political party that you are affiliated to, at least, talking about how this was a conspiracy theory and the report is a witch hunt, which you are heading for President Cyril Ramaphosa, you didn't get the opportunity, of course, to go back on the podium to respond to all of those allegations. So I just want to ask you what you make of that. What's your response to them saying you are part of the witch hunt against the advocate?
Those jabs, mainly from the three parties that were part of the inquiry, the EFF, UDM, ATM, who at the end would have spent more time absent from the inquiry than being present. I'm used to them because our inquiry was evidence-based. Yesterday's report and the fact that you had 318 members is a demonstration of the confidence about the work we have done. It had nothing to do with the numbers, and that report is purely based on evidence. And we were very fair. We allowed a very rational process. Obviously, if you had watched this inquiry, there was what we call an extended defense team, which is the public protector and the legal team and the other three parties that would have said the same thing yesterday. So I was not surprised about the kind of things they've said. Before you would have been aware, you asked me about that, issues around bribery allegations. the Ethics Committee has given an answer to it as to whether that was founded or unfounded, and they were very clear it was unfounded allegations.
Mr. Dyantyi, as a person who is part of lawmaking in South Africa, and I'm asking this question to you, I asked this question to the ATM before. Are you not worried that now the PPSA office has become so politicized, where political parties are now, putting it in public, and the laymen like me are watching, and we're hearing people saying no, it's being used for political agendas, etc. Are you not concerned that that's how this office is going to look, and it's supposed to be apolitical? Even the person who holds it is supposed to be apolitical.
When we got into this inquiry, I made one important point, and let me repeat that, is that this inquiry was never about Mkhwebane or the public protector. This inquiry was about two things. It was about us protecting and preserving that office of the public protector, the institution, which was mired into all of these political shenanigans. And the evidence demonstrated that. You would have heard in the evidence how certain consultants, Paul Mkhwebane, Professor Siepe, and others were used for a political campaign against the judiciary and everybody else. But the second point that this inquiry was about, which it demonstrated at the end, it was about the role of Parliament, of the National Assembly. You only have to look back as to the National Assembly, how it handled the eNCA saga, and yesterday how things happened. So it says to you, we have learned some lessons. So this inquiry, in a way, and I'm comfortable with that, it has succeeded in really putting that office into the spotlight and protecting it both from politicians, from incumbents who are using it for nefarious deeds, as our evidence is pointing about Advocate Mkhwebane.
And, I think that's what is a concern for many who are probably her supporters. So my last question to you, Mr. Dyantyi, a lot of people who are her supporters are saying, why are you judging her about the few reports that she got wrong compared to how many she actually investigated in total, etc.? Was it about the scope, the fact that the scope of the inquiry was just about your Vrede, etc.?
Let's start with the Constitution. The Constitution has got 3 grounds for the removal of a head of a Chapter 9. You're either going to be incapacitated, meaning you either have ill health, you can't do anything, or you commit misconduct, or you are incompetent. And in each of those 3 grounds, you don't need to have many instances. Even if we had one misconduct, she would have been removed. And so the issue about the clean audit and other things is irrelevant to the exercise that we're doing, because in front of us we had a undisputed evidence of how she conducted misconduct. And when it comes to incompetency, it was an overarching trend throughout, almost on every of those charges. She would have demonstrated how incompetent she was on the law and the functions of that office.
Mr. Dyantyi, thank you very much for your time here on eNCA. Just very quickly, I'm just interested to know, just from you, Mr. Dyantyi, before I let you go, how was the mood like? Obviously, as chairperson of the inquiry, you had to first share this report with members of the inquiry before making it public and going into Parliament, etc. With all the disagreements that we at least saw as people took to the podium yesterday, how was the mood like when you presented the report to the members that spoke yesterday?
Well, remember,
robust, I imagine.
This inquiry is very different from an inquiry like the Zondo one, where Zondo makes the report on its own and then he releases his ours. Because of our constitutional obligation is that it must be transparent. So everything, Masego, that we did, it was known. Even when we brought a draft report, it was in the open. So we're never in the smoke-filled room where we did a report. So the report we presented, all the 36 members of that committee had a touch on it, contributed. They knew everything about it, from the findings that we've made, the conclusions we've made, and the recommendation that we're making. The only members who did not know are those who voted yesterday, who are not part of the committee. But before yesterday, the report would have been sent to all of them, as it was sent to members of the public, including Masego Rahlaga.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dyantyi, for your time here on eNCA. Richard Dyantyi, the Chairperson of Parliament Section 194 inquiry into Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane's fitness to hold office. Now, former President